Hello and welcome back. We are going to do the fourth page of the semester one exam review. So first thing we need to talk about is significant figures. And so remember, in significant figures, these are the numbers that you report based on the measurements that you've taken. So there's a couple of rules when it comes to identifying significant figures, and what we had done in the past, or what we learned, is we drew an arrow. So if there is a decimal point in the number, we draw an arrow to the right. And then when you hit the first non-zero digit, you start counting, and everything to the right of that is significant figures, or is significant. If there's no decimal point in the number, you draw an arrow to the left, and then when you hit a non-zero digit, you start counting everything to the left of that, and then that's significant. So let's practice. I see that I have 32,000 with no decimal point, so I'm going to go ahead and draw a line or an arrow until I get to the first non-zero digit, which in this case is 2, and I'm going to count 1, 2. So this has 2 sig figs. Going down, the next number is 8.32. There is a decimal point, so I'm going to draw a line right here, and now I'm going to start counting because the first non-zero digit is an 8, so 1, 2, 3. So this one has 3 sig figs. Here I have a number in scientific notation, but that number has a decimal point, so the arrows still apply. So I'm going to draw an arrow to the 9, which is a non-zero digit, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So that has 4 sig figs. Here I have a number that is smaller than 1 with a decimal, so I'm going to draw my line, get to the first non-zero digit, which is a 3. So I'm going to count. 3, 2 is 1, 2, so that's 2 sig figs. Going back up to the top, I see I have 830. There is no decimal point. So I'm going to draw a line until I get to the first non-zero digit and start counting. 1, 2. So this is 2 sig figs. The next one is 0.3822. There's a decimal, so I'm going to draw a line coming to there, and I go 1, 2, 3, 4 sig figs. 2033.0. There's a decimal, so I'm going to draw a line to my first non-zero digit and start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this one has 5 sig figs. And again, we have a number in scientific notation, but that number is a decimal point, so I'm going to draw an arrow and count. 1, 2, 3. So this has 3 sig figs. Okay, so that was a quick review of how to assess significant figures in a value. Now we're going to go ahead and multiply, divide, add, or subtract. So when you're multiplying or dividing, you're looking for the least amount of significant figures. And when you're adding or subtracting, you're looking for decimal places or digits after the decimal. So the first thing I do when I look at these problems, at these types of problems, I look at what I've been given in terms of which math operation I'm doing. And so in this case here, I am adding or subtracting. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the math. So the first thing I do is I grab my calculator and I take 8.264 minus 7.8, and the calculator gives me an answer of 0.464. And because we're adding and subtracting, we're looking at digits after the decimal, or decimal places. So here I've got 1, 2, 3 decimal places, or 1 decimal place. Oops. So the fewest number of decimal places is the one that I get to report. So here I usually draw a line after that first decimal place, and I look and I see, can the 6 round that 4 up? The answer is yes. The 6 can round the 4 up. So my final answer here is going to be 0.5. And because there's a unit, because it says to specify units, it's going to be grams. The next one, we are multiplying and dividing. And I don't know why this one looks like it's a multiplication symbol up here. That should be a plus sign. Okay. So now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to multiply. So I'm going to take 5.7621 times 6.201, and I'm going to record my answer, my calculator answer, which is 35.730781, something like that. 5.67621 times 6.021. Yeah. What did I do here? Something's not right. Let me check my math. 5.7621 times 6.201. Yeah, it's 35. Okay. All right. Well, I got 35. So in any case, now we're going to look at significant figures here. And because it's multiplying and dividing, we are looking at significant figures for sure. So I'm going to draw a line. And when I get to that first non-zero digit, I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this has 5 sig figs. And I'm going to draw a line. And it's got 1, 2, 3, 4. This has 4 sig figs. So I must report my answer to have the fewest number of significant figures, which in this case is 4. So I draw a line. 1, 2, 3, 4. I draw another line and see if that 0 can round up that 3. And the 0 can't round up that 3. So I'm going to report my answer as 35.73. Now, meter times meter has a unit of meter squared. So meter times meter is equal to meter squared. And that's the unit that we're going to be looking for when we're grading here. The next one is going to be a division problem. So it's really going to be multiplication and or division. So I'm going to do the math. 20.2 divided by 7.41. And I get something like 2.726045884. And now I'm going to assess significant figures because it's multiplying and dividing. So 1, 2, 3. So that's 3 sig figs. And 1, 2, 3, 3 sig figs. So again, draw my line. 1, 2, 3. And now I'm going to see if I can round. And that 6 will round the 2 up. So my final answer is going to be 2.73. Now this time, because we're dividing, it really looks like this. It's centimeters divided by seconds. So really our answer is going to be centimeters per second. So that's going to be our final answer there. And then lastly, looks like we are adding. So this is an adding and subtracting problem. And in an adding and subtracting problem, do the same thing. I'm going to do my math. 324.83 plus 22.3. And my calculator gives me an answer of 347.13. So now we're looking at digits after the decimal or decimal places. So 1, 2, this is 3 decimal places. 1, this is 1 decimal place. So my answer needs to have 1 decimal place. So I'm going to draw a line and see if that 3 can round the 1 up, and it cannot. So my final answer here is going to be 347.1. And now kilogram plus kilogram is kilogram. So that's my answer there. So that's the sig fig portion of this. So I'm going to stop my video here and go on to the next page in a minute. But if you have any questions about sig figs or identifying sig figs or doing math with sig figs, check in with your teacher. Otherwise, good luck preparing for the final exam.